Bonjour and welcome viewers and students to Let's Speak French, Parlons Français. These lessons on basic French are short and easy. And if you follow the program regularly, I can assure you that very soon you will be able to understand French quite easily. The previous session focused on the present tense of IR ending verbs. In today's class, we will focus on three irregular verbs that are extensively used in French. Pouvoir, which means to be able to or can. Vouloir, which means to want. And devoir, which means to have to or must. This lesson has been divided into three sections. In the first section, I will read out a text where these three verbs occur many times. Then in the next section, I will explain the present tense conjugation of these three verbs. And finally, in the third section, we will do an exercise to revise what we learnt in today's session. We'll begin the lesson with a French text. This text consists of a dialogue that takes place between three friends. They are making plans for a get-together. Une soirée avec les copines. Salut les filles. Chloé, comment tu vas? Bien. Dites-moi, vous êtes libre ce week-end? Vous voulez sortir? Ah non, ce week-end, je ne suis pas à Bordeaux. Et Héloïse doit faire des heures supplémentaires. Alors demain? Désolée, demain je ne peux pas. Je vais au ciné avec Claude. Il veut voir le nouveau film de Spielberg. Mais le jeudi, je suis libre. Le jeudi, c'est impossible. Je dois faire du babysitting. Aujourd'hui, qu'est-ce que tu fais? Héloïse et moi, on termine à 7 heures. Mais on peut boire un coup et aller au resto si tu veux. Tatiana et Joël doivent passer chez moi aujourd'hui. Ça ne vous dérange pas si je les demande de nous joindre? Non, pas du tout. Plus on est de fous, plus on rit. Tu as raison. Une soirée karaoké, ça vous dit alors? Nous pouvons d'abord prendre un verre et après nous allons à Koba. Le karaoké commence à 9 heures. Génial. On se retrouve où? Au café Babel, à 2 pas de chez vous. Ok, ça nous convient très bien. Alors à ce soir. Salut, à ce soir. So this was a short text where the verbs pouvoir, vouloir and devoir have been used a number of times. In the next section, I will show you the conjugation of each of these verbs. In the French language, the verbs pouvoir, vouloir and devoir are considered as modal verbs. Modal verbs are unconjugated verbs that express the mood of a verb with regard to its possibility, necessity and condition. Modal verbs always precede the verb they modify. We are all familiar with the English modal verbs, which are can, could, shall, should, may, might, must, will, would, have to and ought to. Technically speaking, the French language does not have modal verbs. That is why it is often difficult to translate the English modal verbs into French. However, pouvoir, vouloir and devoir are regarded as modal verbs. But unlike their so-called English counterpart, pouvoir, vouloir and devoir can be conjugated in different tenses. In this lesson, I will show you how to conjugate these three verbs in the present tense. Let's begin with pouvoir. Pouvoir, to be able to or can. Je peux, tu peux, il peut, elle peut, nous pouvons, vous pouvez, ils peuvent, elles peuvent. I'll again repeat the words. Je peux, tu peux, il peut, elle peut, nous pouvons, vous pouvez, ils peuvent, elles peuvent. As you can see, the pattern of conjugation is random. Only the first and second person plural, that is the nous and the vous forms, seem logical. The ending OIR is removed from the verb first. Then, the regular first group verb conjugation is inserted, ONS and EZ, to the stem of the verb. In the text, the verb pouvoir occurs thrice. Désolé, demain je ne peux pas. Sorry, tomorrow I can't come. On peut boire un coup et aller au resto. We could have a drink and go to a restaurant. Nous pouvons d'abord prendre un verre et après nous allons à Koba. We could first have a drink, then go to Koba. Two things must be noted in these sentences. Firstly, it's the subject pronoun on. The conjugated form of the verb is identical to the third person singular, that is, il and elle. Il peut, elle peut, on peut. The second thing that must be noted in these sentences is their English translation. The verb pouvoir expresses a possibility or an ability. It is translated either as can or could. In the first sentence, pouvoir can also be translated by to be able to, but the same English modal verb isn't suitable for the second and the third sentences. So the three examples indicate how the so-called French modal verb pouvoir can be translated in English in different ways depending on its meaning. Next, let me show you the conjugation of the verb vouloir, which means to want. Je veux, tu veux, il veut, elle veut, nous voulons, vous voulez, ils veulent, elles veulent. I'll again repeat the words. Je veux, tu veux, il veut, elle veut, nous voulons, vous voulez, ils veulent, elles veulent. We find that the conjugation pattern of this verb is absolutely identical to the conjugation of pouvoir. We simply replace the letter P with the letter V, and in the plural forms, we replace the letter V with L. Here too, on has the same conjugated form as il and elle. Il veut, elle veut, on veut. In the text, the verb pouvoir occurs thrice. Vous voulez sortir? Do you all want to go out? Il veut voir le nouveau film de Spielberg. He wants to watch the new Spielberg movie. On peut boire un coup et aller au resto si tu veux. We could catch up over a drink and go to a restaurant if you want to. In all three sentences, the verb vouloir has been translated by the modal verb to want. Vouloir is always translated by this modal verb since vouloir expresses a wish or a desire. And in English, the only modal verb that expresses this mood is must. And now I'll show you how to conjugate the verb devoir, which means must or to have to. Je dois, tu dois, il doit, elle doit, nous devons, vous devez, ils doivent, elles doivent. I'll again repeat the words. Je dois, tu dois, il doit, elle doit, nous devons, vous devez, ils doivent, elles doivent. Similar to pouvoir and vouloir, the pattern of conjugation of devoir is also random. Only the first and second person plural, that is the nous and the vous forms, seem logical. The ending OIR is removed from the verb first. Then the regular first group verb conjugation, that is ONS and EZ, is inserted to the stem of the verb. Once again, on has the same conjugated form as il and elle. Il doit, elle doit, on doit. In the text, the verb devoir occurs thrice. Héloïse doit faire des heures supplémentaires. Héloïse needs to work extra hours. Je dois faire du babysitting. I must babysit. Tatiana et Joël doivent passer chez moi aujourd'hui. Tatiana and Joël ought to drop by my place today. In all three sentences, the verb devoir has been translated in two different ways. By the modal verb must, by the verb to need to. In English, an obligation or a requirement can be expressed either through the modal verb must or through the regular verb to need to. In French, je dois faire du babysitting can also be said in this way. Je suis obligé de faire du babysitting. This second sentence translates literally as I am obliged to babysit. Now that I've shown you how to conjugate these three verbs in the present tense, let me also show you how to use these verbs in a sentence. In French, when a sentence has two verbs, it's always the first verb that has to undergo a change. The second verb retains its infinitive form. We have come across this when learning about the present tense conjugation of ER as well as IR ending verbs. When a sentence has two verbs, it's always the first verb that is conjugated. The second verb retains its infinitive form. For instance, in the sentence Elle aime danser, the verb aimer has been conjugated, but not the verb danser. Similarly, when one uses a modal verb, one has two verbs in the sentence. The first verb is the modal verb and it is immediately followed by the second verb, which is the main verb of the sentence. Let's consider the previous example again. In the sentence, Elle veut danser, which means she wants to dance, the main verb is danser, while veut is the modal verb vouloir. So again, it's the first verb that is conjugated. In other words, it's the modal verb that is conjugated. The verb that follows retains its infinitive form. Now, when we have a modal verb in the negative form, it's again the first verb that needs to be tampered with. We place the modal verb between the negative word pair. The second verb or the main verb of the sentence follows the word pas. Let me illustrate this with the same example. Elle ne veut pas danser, which means she does not want to dance. As you can see, the modal verb vouloir is placed between ne pas. Danser, which is the main verb, is placed after the negative word pair. Let me illustrate this example with the other word pairs that express negation. Elle ne veut point danser. She does not want to dance at all. Elle ne veut plus danser. She does not want to dance anymore. Elle ne veut jamais danser. She never wants to dance. So, pouvoir, vouloir and devoir are the three modal verbs of the French language. As you have noticed, their conjugation pattern is irregular and needs to be learnt by heart. These three verbs are widely used in spoken French, and that is the reason why an entire lesson has been created around them. In this third section, we will revise what we learned in today's session on pouvoir, vouloir and devoir. A short exercise has been provided below. There are 6 sentences in English. Their French translations have been given. We need to choose the correct modal verb that expresses the same meaning. I must leave at 3 o'clock because I have an appointment with the dentist. Je, space, partir à 3 heures parce que j'ai un rendez-vous avec le dentiste. The three options are doit, veut, peut. The modal verb must indicates an obligation, so we need to select A. Je dois partir à 3 heures parce que j'ai un rendez-vous avec le dentiste. We want to visit Greece. Nous, space, visiter la Grèce. The three options are devons, voulons, pouvons. The modal verb to want indicates a wish, so we need to select B. Nous voulons visiter la Grèce. Can you all come back tomorrow? Vous, space, revenir demain. The three options are devez, voulez, pouvez. The modal verb can indicates a possibility or an ability. Here it indicates a possibility, so we need to select C. Vous pouvez revenir demain? The students don't want to study today. Les étudiants ne, space, pas, étudier aujourd'hui. The three options are doivent, veulent, peuvent. The modal verb to want indicates a wish, so we need to select B. Les étudiants ne veulent pas étudier aujourd'hui. He can clear the exam since he is hardworking. Il, space, réussir à l'examen car il est diligent. The three options are doit, veut, peut. The modal verb can indicates a possibility or an ability. In this sentence, it indicates an ability, so we need to select C. Il peut réussir à l'examen car il est diligent. You must find a solution. Tu, space, trouver une solution. The three options are doit, veut, and peut. The modal verb must indicates an obligation, so we need to select A. Vous devez trouver une solution. With this, we come to the end of our second lesson. This lesson was divided into 3 sections. In the first section, I read out a French text where the verbs pouvoir, vouloir and devoir occur several times. In the second section, we examined the conjugation of these verbs. We also learned how to use these verbs in a sentence. And finally, in the third section, we revised today's lesson by doing an exercise on the 3 French modal verbs. I hope you enjoyed today's session. In the next lesson, we'll learn about the other third group verbs. I hope to see you in the next session. Thank you and à bientôt. See you soon.